Hey guys, welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is Perri Nemiroff.
Oh my God, happy Wednesday, guys. It's my first time hosting the show. A little mortifying when Campia asked if I wanted to do it. He's like, what could go wrong? Well, hold on to your butts, because a lot could go wrong, but luckily I am in good company today. They've got my back. Ashley, who's joining me?
Also here is Jon Schnepp.
Welcome, and we were like, hey, you're the first female host since Amy Rose, so you're in good company.
Wow.
Amy
Honored
Rose.
to have that title.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. I think you should have watched Nightmares. That popped off this morning, so don't forget to watch it right after you watch this.
Also here is Jeremy Jahns.
That's absolutely right. And a big turnout from all corners of the Outer Rim territories. I love you all.
Also here is Mark Ellis.
I'm Mark. I am not going to help Perri at all today.
I think that was the meanest thing you've ever said.
Like in life, period, by the way.
I got that over there. I've got the pug over there judging me. This is going to be an interesting episode.
Got you, girl, got you. All right, THR reports that Yahya Abdul-Mateen II and Nicole Kidman are both in early talks to join James Wan's Aquaman. Abdul-Mateen, who starred in Netflix's Baz Luhrmann show, The Get Down, will play the part of Black Manta, with Kidman up for the role of Aquaman's mother, Atlanna. Wan and the studio have been meeting with numerous actors for the part of Black Manta over the past 2 weeks and decided on Abdul-Mateen over the weekend, with the official offer going out Monday. Kidman also got an offer on Monday after Wan made it known that she was her top choice. Aquaman is the next DC movie to be going before cameras, with an April start in Australia being planned. It's currently scheduled for an October 5th, 2018 release. Perri, thoughts on the casting of Abdul-Mateen and Nicole Kidman for Aquaman?
I'm happy to hear this, especially with what we were busy discussing yesterday. I needed something a little uplifting, and what could be more uplifting than having someone with a track record like Nicole Kidman, who just scored an Academy Award nomination, taking on a role in this movie. So that gets me really hyped. And then with Black Manta, I see a lot of potential in the role for obvious reasons, but that would mean we're getting two villains in Aquaman's origin story. So that's the only thing that kind of has me, pushing pause a little, and just, I want to make sure that we're going to get a good intro to Aquaman above all else. And we all know what happens when you got an overabundance of villains in a movie. It takes away the attention a little. So that's got me a little concerned, but this is my man, James Wan. In James Wan, I trust with, pretty much everything. I don't think he's had any terrible missteps, and given what he did with the Fast and Furious franchise, I think we're in good shape with Aquaman. Ellis, what you got?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. James Wan is the reason why I still have a lot of confidence in Aquaman. We always get excited when talented people that we like get added to a cast that already has a rich cornucopia of ability, if you will. But then you start to get nervous, and you're like, oh, wait, how much are we putting into one movie? Because not only do we need to get an Aquaman origin story, now we have a bunch of villains to deal with, plus we have to make this fit into a larger universe. And if you've seen any comic book movie, they like to spend a lot of time on tying events together and setting up future films. So this movie could be 3 hours, just a matter of if I want to watch it for 3 hours. With those two added to the cast, though, right now, today, I'm going to be pretty pumped about it.
Schnepp, what are you thinking? Can we get Ocean Master and Black Manta in the same movie and have it work?
Most definitely. I looked at Doctor Strange, and they were able to introduce Mordo as well as Caecilius. And, we don't know how big of a role Wilson is going to play as his half-brother Orm, whether or not he's going to be, I'm Ocean Master with the weird shell head and stuff, or is he just going to be like a nefarious businessman plotting and planning, and Black Manta, the strange fishbowl-headed UFO-looking weird dude. I've always thought that character, he's like the weirdest-looking character. He's like, I've got this cool scuba suit and this bizarre fishbowl head thing with cool red laser eyes. He's cool-looking, really odd-looking. I hope they keep that bizarre mask.
It's like a scuba suit that fits a normal human, and then he doesn't really have the ability to put the bowl on his head because he's got a UFO up there.
Yes.
Yeah, it does very much look like the pearhead aliens from X-Files who were abducting people, is what I thought. And then he shot lasers out of his face in an issue I was reading, and I was like, oh, okay, that's a cool head. That's great. Yeah, I love that Ocean Master and Black Manta are both in this, because I think Black Manta is going to be the main antagonist. Ocean Master is going to be his brother. You're going to see some conflict build between them. When Black Manta goes down, then the conflict's going to snap, just like they did in Doctor Strange, setting up for the sequel where Ocean Master Orm and his brother Aquaman Arthur Curry, now they're going to go head to head. There's a lot of politics involved with Aquaman. They could make this Game of Thrones in the water. They really could make it like that. I hope they do. Adding Nicole Kidman, that brings some validity and class, because I could see her just being in Game of Thrones itself. You know what I mean? I could see her being part of that world. So I think you have all the elements in play with Wan directing. I feel like we can get ourselves a good political action movie based in the DC universe. It looks like now that we're getting this news, they're not scrapping everything now that Ben Affleck stepped off. So
James Wan just quit. News.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Wouldn't it be great? I mean, if they could pull kind of like a Mad Max Fury Road, where if this thing's shooting in Australia, you can just go over there and just block everything going on with your studio out. Don't take phone calls. Just make your movie with the budget you have. Hopefully it kicks ass.
Yeah.
Well, with such strong directors all around in this DCEU, that might be the approach they should take. Let them make their movies their way, and we could end up with some really solid stuff that they need right now. Ashley, what we got next?
Variety reports that Leonardo DiCaprio will star in and produce an adaptation of the Stephen Talty book, The Black Hand, for Paramount Pictures and DiCaprio's Appian Way Productions. Per Variety's report, the studio is now looking for a screenwriter to adapt Talty's book, which follows the genesis of organized crime set in the early 1900s, with the story following Detective Joseph Petrosino, a famed NYPD officer who squares off against the Black Hand, a ruthless gang that kidnapped the children of immigrants and extorted their family for money. No release date has been set. Jeremy, thoughts on the Black Hand movie adaptation with Leonardo DiCaprio?
I love this. This is a genre that is apparently hard to lock down in the 21st century. I don't know why. It's kind of like it's hard to make a good Western, like old school Western, and it's hard to make a early 1900s crime drama for some odd reason, but I'm pining for one. I really want one. I love that DiCaprio's in on this. I want... like the next Tarantino movie, I want his movie to be like a Prohibition, Untouchables type of movie. I want that to happen. I want him to take that on. We're not talking about that, but that's just me throwing that out there. But I think DiCaprio is one of the best actors working right now. I want to see him in that era. I want to see him take on that world. I couldn't be happier about something that we just got scraps about, like, hey, here's scraps. DiCaprio's in this thing. What do you think? I'm like, I'm pumped. That's great. I want to see is DiCaprio the good guy or is he the bad guy is the question.
I believe he's playing the detective.
So he's the detective. So who's going to be the Capone that he's going up against?
don't know.
You know, that right there. That's the
wait to find
dynamic I
out.
want to see.
I'm curious to
But
see
I'm
some
pumped for this.
casting. Yeah. I have a feeling we're going to be waiting a little while for this because they don't even have a writer on board. This is just something that he has announced that he's attached to, and he's attached to a whole bunch of things. But regardless, I am looking forward to this, and not to give Ben Affleck such a hard time right now, but after Live by Night, I am a little surprised that I'm so excited to hear about a story like this happening. The whole idea of this being a story that covers the genesis of organized crime in America intrigues me because I'm not the biggest crime movie fan. There's just something about it that I always have a tough time getting into it. But if that's part of the story, that could be enough to kind of pave the way into crime and also give me a good character story too. And all you got to do is do a little Googling on the story that this is based on and know where it ends up. If you don't want to spoil it, maybe don't do that. But where it ends up is pretty interesting. And if he's in that role, I really want to see it. Schnepp, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the real life story is pretty dark, and I would love to see Martin Scorsese directing it. So, I mean, they don't even have a director attached yet. So, first they got to kick the story, and they're basing it off of a popular book based off reality. You got an incredible actor. I'm really excited to see this film. I'd see it right now if it came out. So, but unfortunately, we have to wait 2 years. So,
Yeah, at least.
Probably at least 2 years,
Yeah.
but DiCaprio is one of those rare guys in Hollywood when he's an actor, technically first and foremost, but when he attaches himself to a project, everybody's going to want to come running to this thing, including top-tier directors and whoever else you need around them. DiCaprio is a great guy to build your movie around, and he's one of those guys, I know he's attached to a lot of things coming up. He doesn't pick projects just willy-nilly. Oh, yeah, maybe I'll make a cameo in Smurfs. Sure, Transformers 6, I'll make an appearance in that. He really is very selective when it comes to the movies he's going to be starring in. The ones he champions, he looks for a lot of Oscar bait, and this has a very Departed meets Gangs of New York kind of feel so far. And if you know the true story, you know that he's perfect for the role of the police officer.
Yeah, in addition to this, he also has The Devil in the White City, a mystery project with the writer of The Revenant, and then the true life dissociative identity disorder crime drama, The Crowded Room. So he's got quite the lineup there.
He got some work.
Him versus McAvoy and Split.
I
it's
knew
like
someone
a
was
going to
bring that up.
I was the guy to do it, Perry.
Can always count on you, can't I? All right, so now it is Wednesday, so we have our AMC Rewind segment. Ashley, what is celebrating an anniversary today?
10 years ago, there was Because I Said So and The Messengers. And 20 years ago, there was The Beautician and the Beast and Dante's Peak.
You know what? There's really only one movie on this list that matters, and it's Dante's Peak. I feel like we should be doing a round robin, row, row, row your boat right now. No? Nobody wants to do it? Okay.
Row, row, row your boat right
Row,
off the
row.
cliff.
Oh,
'cause
did I
these
do it
movies
wrong?
suck. Yeah,
No,
I
it
think they-
didn't.
Oh, I don't.
It doesn't
yes.
suck. It's a classic.
No, I said all these movies suck.
Well,
Yeah,
Dante's
Yeah.
Peak is a classic, cheesy action movie.
Yeah.
And who doesn't like Pierce Brosnan fighting a volcano?
Whatever.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we tried to do something fun with Wednesday. I'm sorry you didn't want to participate.
Refuse.
Dante's Peak came out around the same time as Volcano, right? They're
Yes.
like
That it did.
dueling volcano
Yep.
movies. Dante's Peak is definitely the better of the two volcano movies because you had Brosnan, James Bond at the time, Linda Hamilton coming off a role as Sarah Connor. You get Sarah Connor and James Bond versus a volcano. It's a no-brainer. Of
and
course they're
Ruffy
gonna
the
win.
dog.
Sorry,
That's right.
Volcano had that Angeline sign getting exploded by some crazy molten lava. Come on.
Jeremy,
got
I
to
feel
watch
like you're not
Hollywood
loving
burn.
Dante's Peak.
No, dude, are you kidding me? I knew where you were going with row, row, row your boat right through the sulfuric acid and watch Grandma melt and
poor
push
Grandma.
the boat all the way to the shore.
Yep.
You know, this is a classic film of the '90s era right there. But I think it's kind of loosely based on Mount St. Helens. So every time I
Yes.
saw Mount St. Helens, I was like, "You did that to Granny. You did that to Pierce Brosnan and company." No, this movie, I remember seeing the trailer when I was at the movie. That was the date with the girl that told her friends that I was her cousin when we ran into them. You remember the story? You remember hashtag
Oh,
tell me
yeah.
my
Saga
cousin?
continues.
That's it. So when I saw this, it all brought the pain back.
Damn.
Ashley Mova's over there laughing,
Oh
going,
my
I would
God, I
totally
love
do
that
that. I'm
story
telling
so
you, this is the
much.
way the world works. But yeah, none of those other movies stand out to me at all. I mean, Beautician and the Beast, I remember seeing at Blockbuster when I went to rent Dante's Peak, so I don't really know much
No, but
about that.
Here's the thing, Jeremy, is to get this. Timothy Dalton, right? He's like this uptight guy. Guess who his beautician is?
What?
Fran
Yeah,
Drescher.
Fran
it's Fran
Drescher?
Is it the
Drescher.
net?
How's that going to work? It somehow does.
Nutty.
Oh,
The sad
boy.
thing is, I feel like you just sold that movie to at least a
Right.
small handful of
No
people
one's
out
gonna
there.
Absolutely.
see it. He didn't sell it.
I'm telling you, this was the era of Dante's Peak, Volcano, and then Twister, I think, came out just before that. It was just like everyone
Yeah.
needed to make disaster movies. So like I think they were going for all the elements, like Earth, Fire, Wind, Water. They were going
Armageddon,
for, yeah,
and
they were going for
what was the other one?
volcanoes. There was one called Hard Rain that initially the trailer said flood. It was called Flood, and so it was going to be the flood
How have I
movie.
not seen that one?
I don't
Christian
know.
Slater
is in
it.
Hard Rain.
Yeah.
That's a
It's
terrible title, but I still want to check it
Called
out.
Hard Rain.
Feels like that's from Bowfinger. Remember that Eddie Murphy,
Yeah.
Steve Martin?
Yeah.
What was it? Chubby Rain.
Chubby Rain.
I'd rather see Chubby Rain than Hard Rain.
So no love for Because I Said So or The Messengers?
I don't even know
Perry,
what
I
those
heard
are.
someone has that in their DVD collection, The Messengers.
Oh, thanks
might
for,
be a Blu-ray
for
collection.
blowing us
That's
up
right.
there. Come on, you know what happens when you go to a Best Buy or something and you get those, I don't know, 5 DVDs
Yeah.
Flavor
for $5.
packs, yeah.
And
There's always the one.
And there's the one in the pack. You want the other two, but the one is still stuck in there, and you got to put. What am I going to do? Throw it in the shelf? Throw it in the trash? No, you
Proudly
put it on
display
the
it.
shelf.
Like,
Yeah.
So when anybody comes over, you're like, and check out my DVD collection.
Or
What's
it's
that,
like
The Messenger?
those crappy DVDs are for when the DVD shelf isn't full enough, so they won't fall over. So that's why that one's there to hold the rest up. I'm glad The Messengers is doing its job.
Yeah, I mean, this is classic story. You have like the pack with Volcano, Dante's Peak, and Beautician and the Beast, all right in one thing because there's that one movie they're like we have to sell it, so it's gonna be in a pack. That's
Can
why
I tell
they
you
do
guys
it.
something about Because I Said So, though? Okay.
Yes.
So Mandy Moore, right? She's got some sass to her. Wait till she comes across Diane Keaton. Oh, boy!
Whoa.
It's getting hot in here.
Can't
Oh,
wait to see
boy.
that one.
Oh boy. Sorry for anyone out there who just listened to his pitches. All right, so now it's time for Buy or Sell, the time of the show when we get to talk about some stories and then discuss whether we buy or sell them. Ashley, what's first up?
IMAX revealed yesterday that Disney's live-action Beauty and the Beast will be specially formatted to fit the entire digital IMAX screen that will last for the entirety of the movie. The result will give fans 26% more of the movie in IMAX versus standard theaters. To illustrate, IMAX released an animated GIF showcasing the Beauty and the Beast ratio, depicting what moviegoers will see in standard theaters versus what they will see in IMAX. Beauty and the Beast is set for release on March 17, 2017. Mark, buy or sell Beauty and the Beast full IMAX presentation?
Oh, it's a huge buy for me. I mean, getting to see Fran Drescher and Timothy Dalton back on screen together after 20 long years.
That's
this
another
is
movie.
The re-release that we wanted to see. Beautician and the Beast fans out there, look out. You're about to get a great present.
Well then, more Beautician and the Beast plugs for you. You know what I like? I like animated GIFs. I really do. I like GIFs. GIFs. A lot. Do you like GIFs?
I like GIFs, and
Okay.
I love the fact that both of you are pronouncing GIF correctly. That's fantastic.
I
I
like-
like,
it's
I like
important we clear
animated
that
GIF
up.
because that's way better than animated peanut butter.
Yes.
I'm talking about
Well,
peanut
yeah.
butter
GIF is
when
good.
they're
Yeah,
animated.
yeah.
You know what else I like just as much as GIFs? IMAX. I like IMAX compared to 3D so much more. Every single time I hear about some sort of advancement with IMAX, I get really excited because I have seen so many movies in the IMAX format that are a million times more immersive than any 3D I've ever seen. I will still say this to this day. There's some 3D that I think, you know, it can be impressive. It's cool to watch. I have never seen a movie, not even Gravity or Avatar, where I can confidently say that if you see this movie in any other way but 3D, it's not going to be the same. I still think that above all, the story is best, and I've never seen 3D that is more immersive than IMAX. So the fact that we are going to get to see, I mean, what was the percentage on this? Is it 26%?
26% more.
26% more.
Yeah.
That's insane. That seems like a really high number.
3D always has an uphill battle when it's going up against IMAX because even just the way that you sit in an IMAX theater just feels better. It's a more immersive overall experience. And this is great news for me because it's going to cost a little bit more for that opening weekend ticket to go see Beauty and the Beast. $200 million coming at you, Jeremy.
Now nice. You're still sticking to that $200 million. And now that it's IMAX, you might actually be closer than ever. But now, the former projectionist in me wants to know how they film this thing and what do they mean by IMAX. Because, okay, there's scope and flat aspect ratio. Scope is like very widescreen. Flat's a little taller, but it's a little more cropped off. I want to know if they filmed it in flat, cropped it for scope format theaters, and they're just uncropping it for the flat format, but they're showing it in IMAX, thus it's IMAX. I want like IMAX. It's the 6-story tall IMAX, like the Boeing IMAX in Seattle. When you watch a Christopher Nolan movie like The Dark Knight or Dark Knight Rises, there's a scene where like Joker's standing there. You see the entire dude. Like you see on Dark Knight Rises, they stroll up to Lord Baelish at the beginning, and you can see the dude's feet and his head when you're there in that IMAX screen. I want to see it like that. If they're doing the other way, the cropping way, yeah, I still want to see the full frame. But I mean, give me the Boeing IMAX.
You want to go
any day.
from hoofs to horns.
I want to go from hoofs to horns, my friend. I want to see Timothy Dalton in all of his glory.
Oh, boy. All right, Schnepp, you going for the IMAX version of this?
I would love to see that. I mean, if you can't tell that Jeremy spent some time as a projectionist, now you know because he just got way sweaty with the scope and the.
Yeah, I can see Schnepp over there going like this, like I know what he's talking about.
Talking about the real deep stuff. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I want to see the full version. I gotta say, the one film that I definitely would promote as a 3D film was Doctor Strange. So that to me was like one that I felt was really worth the extra effort of wearing those weird goggles. I can't wait to see more of the Beauty and the Beast and Beautician and the Beast. I want to see a double feature.
I just love to see a 3D movie. You gotta wear Black Manta's helmet. You're like, yes,
That'd be fantastic. Yeah, I feel immersed underwater. Yeah.
Well, of all movies, Beauty and the Beast does seem like the appropriate thing to add 26% to,
Sure.
given the way the characters look and the set design as well. Wendy over there, I know you got some feels, so what do you ladies think about this?
I'm
more
ready
beast.
to throw my money at the box office. I was planning to see this in AMC Prime, but now you're going to offer me IMAX. Forget it. I am going to go with IMAX. And I remember seeing Doctor Strange in IMAX 3D. It blew my mind. It's a little overwhelming. Like you have to kind of sit really far back. So, but I'm ready for Beauty and the Beast. Plus, I was looking at these GIFs. Look how many more extras they can fit in the frame. So all those uncredited extras get their little moment of shine.
Look, Mom,
You
it's
get
my
that SAG
head.
voucher.
Ashley, what about you? You
Oh
going
yeah,
for IMAX?
I buy it. I buy extras getting their SAG vouchers. I
Yes.
mean, wow, living in the 21st century here. Yeah, I definitely buy it. I mean, I was going to see it regardless, but I think that this is going to make it just that much better for sure.
I like the sound of that. All right, on to the next one.
Paramount Pictures has released a special sneak peek of the latest movie in the Ring franchise with Rings. The 3 minutes of footage shows us what happens when the Curse of Samara is played out on an airplane, with the seat-back entertainment monitors and even the cockpit instruments panels at risk of being an opening for Samara to use. Rings stars Matilda Lutz, Alex Rowe, Johnny Galecki, and Vincent D'Onofrio, and is directed by F. Javier Gutierrez. It opens in theaters this Friday, February 3rd. Schnepp, buy or sell the 3 minutes of Rings?
Yo, I'm sorry. I was waking up from that 7 minutes of the Rings. That's what it felt like. I wish Samara would crawl into the garbage can. Just seeing these 3 minutes, I was like, I'm watching it on my phone. I was like, I can't wait to not watch this. Horrible, shitty acting, just rushed through. Like, just take a little bit of time to shoot the thing. You're doing this really horrible setup. Everything about the 3 minutes felt like garbage. So I'm not going to see Rings. I would watch just The Ring again before I see this.
Oh boy, Jeremy, do I dare ask?
I just love the prospect of this girl crawling out of the TV and right into a garbage can. Oh my God, yes, that was
Crawl
the
right
movie.
in. Bam.
That's it right there. No, I'm with Schnepp. I was watching the clip before we came on here, and I was like, how long is this clip? And it was on for about a minute and a half at that time. It felt like it felt like the entirety of the film. Funny thing is, since it's just a clip, I can let's talk about this. I haven't seen the movie yet, so this is all speculating, but as someone who hasn't seen the movie, the whole thing is you watch the videotape and then you die in 7 days. Everyone in the plane sees this video because it comes on their monitors, in the back of the seat. So you're like, oh, everyone's dead. But then everyone, it looks like the plane's gonna crash. So if everyone dies, you're like, well, the loop's closed. She didn't think that through. I'm just saying, if everyone dies, then no one can show it to anyone else. So she was like, I just want to be alive for a minute and a half, and then she's dead. So who knows how it's gonna go down? It's called work, friends, and I do it for you. I'll watch Rings, but that's because I love you.
The thought of the plane going down does kind of bother me because it doesn't seem fair. The whole point of The Ring is you watch the tape and you get 7 days. So all those people on the plane got shafted. They watched the thing, and then it does imply that the plane is done. But I don't know. I want to give them a little bit of credit. I like the idea because with The Ring, there really is only one way to take the franchise, and that is to embrace technology. The idea of a plane, TV planes airing that to a whole group of people, and just the viral nature of the world we live in right now, that's what you have to do to continue the Ring franchise. So I like that. Oh my God, the dialogue in this is just atrocious. Could you imagine if someone turned how am I doing today? There's this crazy video that kills people. You think I'm normal, right?
Yeah, he just unloads on you like, Perry, I saw his nose starts bleeding. I saw a video, and I'm gonna die in 7 days. How are you?
But you're still so hot, so it's okay.
Yeah, did you try the bacon and eggs? This is a good flight food right here.
And you just said, wouldn't it be even better, a better setup if all the passengers, you didn't have that crappy dialogue, and just as a fluke that plays on everybody's screen and the plane lands? Then you just follow 300 people on their 7-day death trip.
Yeah,
that alone is better than 3 minutes of garbage.
You follow the end credits of Dawn of Rise of the Planet of the Apes. It's like the virus going.
That sounds really interesting to me. The only drawback to something like that is that it would feel a lot like Final Destination. I have a hard time looking at that opening scene and not thinking of Final Destination. Yeah. Mainly, everyone out there has not seen those movies, but I love that franchise, and I will always associate a great opening disaster with the first Final Destination movie. Ellis, how you feeling about Rings
how you
right
doing,
now?
dude?
Here's the thing about Rings, okay? This girl gets pushed in a well, right? But she ain't dead. Wackiness is about to ensue. Bring the family. I actually, I mean, I've seen the movie, and I think that the way this opening scene played is obviously a lot better in the theater because it has a lot of cool horror movie things where you get some scary sound effects, you get a lot of like, oh, what was that? But I agree with Perry. I've been on a lot of airplanes in my life. This is why you don't talk to strangers on airplanes. This is the exact reason. If somebody's sweaty next to me, they look nervous, I am not making eye contact. I'm taking some Zycam and acting like I'm asleep with my headphones on.
Yeah, headphones. That's the key to surviving a trip.
Yeah, really. When someone wants to talk to me on an airplane, I'm not listening to anything. I'm just sitting there with my headphones in because I'm a jerk like that. But it's okay.
It's not plugged into anything. It's just like the cord's dangling there.
Really, the cord is just dangling on the
You
side.
don't just
But I've
stare
fooled a lot of
weirdly at
people
the
that
person
way.
sitting next to you silently.
I
You don't
hate
do
when
that?
you
guys
can
don't do
tell
that?
that like people want to talk to you.
I know.
They sit down and it's like bubbling out of them. They're like, so, what are you doing in Omaha this weekend? We're all going to hell. Stop talking to me.
I'm sleeping.
Go crawl into a garbage can and don't talk to me. All right, so that's it for Buy or Sell. Later on in the show, we're going to be taking your live Twitter questions, so please start sending them in now to the Collider Video Twitter account. Wendy's going to sort through them and pick out a whole bunch. We've also got a whole bunch of plugs for you right now. As Schnepp said earlier, Collider Nightmares dropped this morning. Please go check that out. Share it with your friends. It was a great show, as usual. We also have a new Team Schmodown match that went up yesterday. It's a breakup match, and it's really sad one way or the other. Real Rejects versus the Wangers. Go find out what happened on that. And then my man Jeremy over here has a really cool show called Awesome-tacular, and there's a brand new episode that's going to be launched this Friday. I promise you, if you watch that episode, you'll be laughing.
Yeah.
And I'm confident in that promise. You should probably check that out. All right, so let's roll into our mailbag questions. Ashley, what do we have first?
Andrew writes, hey, Colliders, quick question. Do you think we will ever see a Star Wars movie spin-off mostly without R2D2 and C3PO in it, or will they forever remain a constant in the films, even in cameo? Seems like they will always show up to connect the spin-off somewhat to the main sagas.
I would be very surprised if we got a Star Wars movie without the two of them in it. And it was something that we had discussed on Jedi, I think, last week, where someone else sent in a question that posed, like, whether or not either of them could ever die. And it's, for some weird reason, and Star Wars characters die all the time, that thought has never gone through my mind. And when I heard that question for the first time, I was just so taken aback and upset by it. If we ever lost either of those characters, I'd be upset to, like, dog dying levels. I would not be okay with it. And given the fact that I don't think... Stop pointing at that pug. Given the fact that I think that C3PO and R2 are not going anywhere, that's just a tradition. But then again, now that I'm saying that, my mind immediately goes to the crawl, which I also thought was a Star Wars tradition. So I'm curious to see who will be the first director and writer to pull the plug on this one. Ellis, what do you think?
Pull the plug is in like putting R2 back in low power mode for a little bit, which is the closest to death I think he's ever going to get in the movies going forward. Now, however, we know from the prequels that R2D2, or particularly C3PO, had a birth date. So C3PO is not going to be appearing in any Old Republic movies. I don't think that R2D2 will either. So if they want to take the Star Wars lineage all the way back there in film version, then we might see a Star Wars movie without R2 and C3PO. I think we were talking about it yesterday, either on camera or off camera, as to whether or not you're going to get to see these droids in the Han Solo movie. I gotta think they're gonna squeeze them in somewhere. There's gonna be like a cantina scene where they're just hanging out in the background somewhere. I'd like to see that. I think going forward, I'd like to continue to have these droids in the Star Wars universe, but there could be a movie made that takes place before the prequels where that is in doubt.
What do you think, Jeremy? Like, what if we got a Rogue One style cameo? Were you happy with that one?
Yeah, I was fine with that one because it made sense that they were there with the rebellion. I don't know how they got on Leia's ship afterwards, but it made sense that they were there with the rebellion. I'm really glad you brought up the opening crawl, though, because my argument to it is like, well, they're testing new waters. So they were like, oh, no opening crawl. It worked for the movie. Okay, we still made $1 billion or whatever it made. So eventually they're going to be like, no, R2D2 or C3PO. We'll see how that goes. I agree with Ellis at a point. If you go back far enough, you're just not going to have C3PO whatsoever. Probably not R2D2 either, because it would be weird to have Busta without the rhymes. But I do think that, like in the Han Solo movie, that's the next one coming up, or it's the next spinoff coming up. I don't know how they're going to organically make that happen. Are they just going to have Han Solo walk by C3PO, just going to be like, who is that Neff Hutta? Oh my, and that's it. You know, like they have to be careful with it because you run the risk of me just rolling my eyes. Like they don't have to be everywhere. It's a big galaxy, friends. They're not always going to cross paths with people.
I mean, they might even use them like the Wilhelm scream, though, where you don't even notice it the first couple of times, where they're so far in the background where there's a quick pan shot and you have to freeze frame it to see, oh, they were there that time. And maybe that's the way to do it if they really want to cram them in.
So like
As
the
he was
ETs?
describing it, that's immediately where my mind went. If it is some sort of subtle Easter egg that you get the satisfaction of finding it later on. Schnepp, what do you think?
So far we don't know the origin of R2D2.
Yeah.
We know young Pumpkinhead Anakin built C3PO, and that's so that he didn't exist before Phantom Menace. But even if they did Knights of the Old Republic, you could possibly see R2D2 because of the way their technology. We're talking about lightsabers have been around for 10,000 years.
1,000 years.
Yeah, 1,000 years. But they all had lightsabers. They had these kyber crystals. They didn't change the technology for that. So certain things advanced, certain things didn't. They had droids and stuff back in Knights of the Old Republic too. So I would argue that you could see a droid, perhaps not droids, because they've already got C-3PO's origin. They have not done R2-D2's origin. So you could see that one droid in every single Star Wars movie forever.
You want to know R2's origin? Here it is.
Yeah.
Yoda's great-grandfather downloaded his consciousness into a little astromech droid. Boom, that's who R2-D2 is. Wise beyond anyone's years whatsoever.
I love that
R2-D2.
I don't know about that story, but oddly enough, as someone who loves horror, because we were talking about this on Nightmares, and hates horror slasher origin stories, an R2 origin story does not sound half bad to me.
He's
I would kinda
arguably
like
the
that.
most important character in the entire Star Wars universe. He saves everybody's ass multiple times. Thank you for everything you do, R2.
All right, Ashley, what's our next mailbag question?
Ash writes, Dear Collider crew, Ash here from across the pond in the UK. I was hoping you could tell me if directors pick the scripts and film them. In which case, directors like Denis Villeneuve are extremely good at finding awesome scripts, or do directors get the scripts and are told to direct them? If, for example, the Sicario writer Taylor Sheridan went to a studio and said, please make my movie, do the producers just pick Denis Villeneuve, or does he show them his previous work or something? Sort of like an audition for directors. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your incredible daily content.
Schnepp, I have a feeling you could break this down pretty well.
Listen up, mate. Yeah, look, I'm going to break it down for you, old school style. All right? No, I'm not going to do that. Directors, when they're unknown directors, they're like a lot of people have commercial reels and they start out just doing a lot of things, and they either work their way up through the Directors Guild of America as assistant DPs and slowly getting those kinds of jobs, and then they work their way into the television world, and then by working with a bunch of other producers, those producers will then hire them on to other jobs. So it is that kind of thing where people are like, how do you break in the industry? Very slowly in the real world. Sometimes people make a short film or make an incredible splash at Sundance, and all of a sudden they've bypassed those years of work and are able to be like, that's a hot new director. Then they get an agent, and then they have a lot of meetings set up, go through tons of movies, development hell. Most of those movies, a lot of those meetings, nothing happens with. Once in a while, a big movie will attach an independent director, and we've seen that happen with Jurassic World. We've seen that happen with a lot of films. Even Star Wars Episode 8 is Rian Johnson, and he comes from independent film, Primer. So, I mean, there's kind of a interesting gateway, but it's a tough one for directors to get a big budget film, especially right out of the park. So usually it's a lot of years of work.
Yeah, it's pretty different for everybody, too.
Yes.
I imagine, someone like Denis Villeneuve at this point, he's in a position where he could say, oh, here's a script that came my way. I want that. I want to direct that. A lot of people don't have that luxury, and I imagine newcomer directors are probably often in a situation where their agent or manager sends them something.
Yes.
And, I mean, I would hope this wouldn't be the case, but even if they're not that passionate about it, the agent or manager says, for the sake of your career, you should take this to take the next step and then eventually get what you want. However, there's a lot of people out there who strictly only do something that they feel they could bring something special to and matches their sensibilities. And then there's a guy like Theodore Melfi, the one who directed Hidden Figures, who came in and he told me all about how he was in a position where he had to choose between Spider-Man and Hidden Figures, and it was Hidden Figures that called to him, and that was the one that he knew he had to direct, so he picked that.
Wow, that's actually that's a heavy story. This dude's like, you mean
Isn't it?
franchise Spider-Man or Hidden Figures, and you went with passion. That's an awesome story. Yeah. Also, I feel like the way a director and writer and how all that works, I mean, you're dealing with people, you're dealing with imagination, you're dealing with writing, you're dealing with climbing a ladder, and you're dealing with money. So the possibilities are endless as to how it actually happens per the person. One of the stories I always think of is Peter Jackson was like, hey, I want to direct King Kong. And New Line was like, yeah, how about you do that Lord of the Rings stuff first, then we'll see about King Kong. So that's why Lord of the Rings happened. Turns out Lord of the Rings was better than King Kong, so sometimes it works out. But yeah, it's a different crawl for different folks.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's true of any career where you have to initially seek out the work, and then eventually, if you do a good enough job, the work will seek you out. If you're a director, you have to start making projects early on in your career, whether it's for artistic reasons or you just need to pay your rent, or you think that this is going to be a good showcase for what you want to do in the industry. And as you matriculate through your career, eventually you could get to a place like where Denny is right now, where he's going to have a team that says, we know what kind of story he wants to tell next. These are the scripts we think best fit that. It's the difference between a career and a job. Like a job. I used to work at a mini golf course. I could have been the best mini golf course employee of all time. I wasn't, but I could have been. And I doubt that there's other mini golf courses that would be like, we really need that Ellis kid on our team. With a career, you have a chance for upward mobility. It's one of the exciting things about working in a place like whether it's Hollywood or stand-up or directing, whatever it is. It's cool to know that if you work hard enough, you could have people seek you out. It's a fun place to be.
I also wanted to add, always take meetings. It doesn't matter, even if someone's like, hey, we want you to, if you get an agent and someone wants to send you on a meeting with a producer or a television network or a movie network, go on it, because even if it's not even you, even if you don't fit, you're like, we're in totally two different wheelhouses. Maybe you'll connect on a level or a project 2 years down the road, because sometimes the producers who are working on that project also don't want to do that project. They're like, can't wait to do this other thing, and it's always good to take those meetings.
Yeah,
So
take
even just-
jobs, man. You know?
And take those meetings from a creative perspective, too,
Yes.
because it can only help you as an artist to go into those meetings and try to wrap your brain around what you would do with that project. Because one of the worst things I did to myself in film school was, surprise, surprise, I only wanted to make horror stuff all day. I only wrote horror, I only directed horror, and then finally I'm like, all right, I gotta suck it up and do something different. And it might not be my favorite thing, but it definitely gave me a bigger appreciation for folks who write comedy, which, to be completely honest, I didn't understand was that tough until I gave it a shot myself. And I'm not very funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, even if you want to make the next Exorcist, if somebody offers you a weird spoof zany comedy and you don't really want to take it, it's good to get that experience, to get your hands dirty, because you're going to learn something on that set that is going to help you when you are making the next Exorcist.
All right, so that's all we got for Mailbag this week. If you guys want your questions answered on the show, send them on over to collidervideo@gmail.com, and hopefully they'll pop up down the line. All right, time for some Twitter questions. Wendy, what's up?
First one comes from a MK Songbird, who writes, what are your thoughts on the official announcement that Denis Villeneuve's next project will be Dune?
I don't know if I care all that much about Dune in particular. Oh, well, there you go. Denis Villeneuve
He is
directing
the
anything.
Quetzalcoatl. Yeah.
All right, you want this, Schnepp?
Me and Jeremy are big Dunophiles.
Yeah,
and,
we were Moedibing before
That's
we
right.
came on here. We're like, yeah.
That's right. He is Modib. So, you know what? If Denny was like searching that one out, he's like, we know that he wants to take a crack at Dune. He's going to do such a good job. I cannot wait. I love David Lynch's Dune. I like the sci-fi adaptations of Dune. I want to see them go through all of even the crazier versions when his son started writing Dune. I want to see them get God Emperor of Dune with a dude's face on a worm. I want to see that stuff.
That's going a bit sweaty right there.
yeah.
You're going on book 7. But no, I agree. I think I'm a fan of the old Dune. It's a big part of my childhood. I love the soundtrack.
Toto, baby.
I almost bought the record, the LP of the soundtrack to Dune, but I really want to see Villeneuve's version of Dune. I want to see that vision. I think this could be a quintessential version that we haven't really gotten before, and I feel like it's just going to merge my childhood and adulthood. Bring it on.
I hate sand. It's coarse and it gets everywhere. But I am a big Toto fan. So if they bring back Toto, we get to see the unsung guitar artistry of Steve Lukather. I'm totally on board with that.
Well, there you go. All right.
And Brian Eno on the theme song.
Wendy, what's up next?
Phil Feng-Fung writes, if Power Rangers just breaks even, will we get a bigger and better sequel, or will they just cut their losses?
Ooh, just breaks even? I don't think that spells bigger, better sequel.
Yeah.
This movie has to make a serious profit. I feel like something like maybe a good comparison would be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Right.
which I wouldn't say that franchise made a killing, but it made enough of a profit to warrant the second one. And then obviously they look at the second one and how much it made. I don't know how big I can't remember how big the loss was on that. I think it still made enough to.
The second one made enough, but it
Yeah.
didn't make enough to warrant
to,
a third.
to get another one, yeah.
But
So
I
I
think
feel
the
like
second
Power
one was
Rangers
in
will
a
be the
position
same.
where if the second one was really good, it would have done enough to where we could have more Ninja Turtles movies, and unfortunately just didn't live up to that. So I look at Power Rangers in the same thing. I think it definitely has to be successful. It's not just going to be well, you broke even, but you got the fans really excited. You have to get other people who are not hardcore Power Rangers fans excited and get them to pay money to see this movie. If you can do that, you're going to get more Power Rangers movies.
This is why I just don't understand the mentality of announcing that you're going to make X amount of movies
Yeah.
before
I'm
a
gonna
movie
make a
even
trilogy.
comes out.
It's like,
I
Right.
mean, maybe Power Rangers is in okay shape in that respect because it has delivered two excellent trailers that I think are starting to get people hyped that might not have been before. But wow, talking about putting the cart before the horse, I mean, that's a big promise to have to fulfill, and I don't know if that's raising people's hopes or not.
I would argue if they announced that Denny was going to do three Dune movies and make a trilogy, I would be 100% behind it because I trust him as a director. Like
Right.
just like Peter Jackson, we're shooting all of the Lord of the Rings. They're like, yeah, that makes sense. Power Rangers, it's kind of they're taking a chance. But someone like me who was not a Power Rangers fan, that last trailer got me hyped. I got excited. I was like, wow, I actually want to see this movie. It looks crazy and weird. What's her name? Rita Repulsa? Is that
Rita?
right?
Yeah.
She looks crazy.
You know
Like
what?
A weird
There's a
elf
crash
queen.
course video about her if you want to learn about her.
Maybe I'll watch. I wonder who's the host
What a
of that
good
one.
idea.
Maybe you're a Power Ranger
I-
sweaty like Perry, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Awesome.
It's not in the best position though to make all that money. I'm scrolling through March, and we've addressed this a little
no,
bit.
it's
March is
competitive.
loaded.
So March, the first week is Logan, and amongst other things, but the big ones I'm saying. After that, it's Kong Skull Island. Then after that, it's Beauty and the Beast, and then comes Power Rangers. So yeah, it's not directly facing off against any of those, but there's no doubt that especially Beauty and the Beast is still going to have a big weekend too. Not necessarily enough to put it over 200 million even after the second
Oh,
weekend,
geez.
but
Oh, no, it's definitely over 200 the second
you
weekend.
do realize
Ellis, I'm feeling
Cinderella
like-
barely
oof.
crossed 200 million
You
for
do
its
realize
whole
that
domestic
Cinderella
run.
is not Beauty and the Beast, okay? Cinderella is a nice, cute cartoon. Beauty and the Beast swept people off their feet. It turned cold hearts warm.
200 million.
It was nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
I'm just,
I think it's
there
going
is
to
that.
Okay, here's another bold prediction for you. Beauty and the Beast does better in its second week of release than Power Rangers does opening.
Well, probably. But I want Power Rangers to do well because I have a feeling if I do the over-under bet thing, I have a feeling that the next movie would be, if they were going to bring in the Green Ranger saga, would be that. I love me some Green Ranger saga, so I hope it does well to at least do that. And then if you're going to bomb out after that, go ahead and bomb out after that. But I want to see a big screen Green Ranger saga.
The combination of Fran Drescher and Timothy Dalton is going to be too much for
Oh
Power
no.
Did you guys get Perry's reaction when he mentioned the Green Ranger?
Yeah.
Oh,
She like-
I love me
She's
some
like,
Green
yeah.
Ranger.
I don't even know what they're talking about. I was like, oh, the Green Knight from like King Arthur? What do you-
No, Tommy Oliver, who was the evil
Yeah.
Green Ranger and then was turned good. He had the dragon sword and the dagger that I had as a kid, and it played music. It was rad.
All right, Wendy.
Yeah.
What's next?
All right, Hugo Congalvez writes, love you guys. Do you think Logan will beat Guardians of the Galaxy 2 at the box office this year?
No,
Nope.
because it's rated R. It's not as big. Like Logan looks a little more personal, and the big summer movies, generally speaking, always do better. I just feel like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is set up to make more money than Logan. That is not to say Guardians of the Galaxy 2 would be better than Logan. I don't look at Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and have the debate in my head like, could that go for Best Picture if it were released later in the year? But for Logan, I do that, so we'll see what happens.
It's weird because I actually think Logan has a better chance of making more money because it has an R rating. It's one of those rare times
Yeah,
when
like Deadpool.
if people saw it on PG-13, they'd be like, well, I don't trust this. People were really excited for Logan, but I think that skews a little more towards the hardcore comic book movie fans than the general audiences. Well, it's going to do really well, don't get me wrong, but Guardians of the Galaxy 2 could be the most money-making movie of the year besides Episode 8.
My money is definitely on Guardians. So Guardians 1 made 94 million opening weekend. X-Men Origins Wolverine made 85, and then The Wolverine made 53. So just given that track record, if you want to make an accurate prediction, I think the only thing to do is bet on Guardians 2.
Yeah, I'm not going to bet money-wise on either of them. I think they're both such different comic book movies that, I'm excited for both films. I think, obviously, Guardians is going to make more money at the box office overall, but I'm not saying Wolverine, going by the box office, like Wolverine Origins sucked, but it made more money than the Wolverine, which didn't suck as bad as that one. So it doesn't really matter whether the quality level's there. I think they're both going to be quality level films, but I think Logan is just something unique and different. Like, just seeing those trailers, you're like, they're taking chances, so that's going to bring in a different audience than just the regular X-Men sweaties. So.
All right, Wendy, we've got time for one more. Pressure's on. Pick a good one.
All right, last one comes from Eric Mariano, who writes, what style of animation would you like to see the Miles Morales Spider-Man movie to be?
Ooh.
I want everything to be stop motion at this point. I am just wildly fascinated. Wouldn't it? And it'd be so different and refreshing. I mean, it'd be one heck of a challenge given the amount of action you would need in a movie like that. I mean, I've name dropped this trailer all the time, but one of my favorite trailers ever was the one that came out right at the end of 2014 for 2014 or 2013, whatever it is, the Box Trolls, which was like a behind the scenes look where it was a fast montage, and it started out with, the animators moving together the pieces and putting them together, and eventually it transitioned into the final footage from the film. And it is just so effective in a way that both told a good story about the Box Trolls and teased the movie you were going to get, but also showed how hard stop motion animation is. So at this point, I just want everything to be stop motion.
Box Trolls, they're taking all our cheese.
A stop motion Miles Morales movie would freak me out. I want the stop motion. I want the animated style of live action. Since we're not going to get that, I cannot think.
You can't ask for that.
Yeah,
That's
boom,
impossible.
that's off the
Too
table.
tall of an order.
That being said, that's hard to pick an animated style. Just the one where they pencil it and then they ink it and then they draw it and it looks animated.
Yeah, I would go with if they're gonna go, because they're not gonna do that, unfortunately, Jeremy. You mean where it actually looks like it's cell animated or using cell shaders? I would say that if they could do cell shading, but with realistically proportioned characters, I would go with that. They're not going to do that, so my second guess would be kind of a Clone Wars, kind of a Gendy, kind of like slightly anthropomorphized human, so they don't look completely like live action people, but the desks and the cars and everything kind of have a realistic shape. Just like Pixar, that kind of animation is.
See, I want to go single cell. I want to see like Steamboat Willie, except with Spider, just.
See, stop motion, because I've done stop motion, makes me very I start to perspire.
Is it the hardest thing you've ever done?
It's so hard to do. So when I see those trailers, I'm like, those crazy MFers. I'm like, it's so much work. I respect Kubo on different levels than I respect 3D. 3D is also incredible amounts of work. People forget it's not some dude pushing a button. You got to design and light shade and all this other crazy shit. It takes hundreds. Ever see those credits? Stick around for a 3D animated movie. It's like endless. They go through like 4 songs. You're like, oh my God, just like a sea of just people. Everybody busting their ass to make somebody's like chewing gum look realistic as opposed to just filming something.
Like the end of Kubo when they show them like setting up all the different shots. There's got to be another room that they just walk out of and they can take a baseball bat and they just like beat the crap out of something just to get all that tension out.
Yes, it's called the regression room.
All right, guys, my coffee's almost empty, so that means that's all the time we've got today. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we close out, I want to thank my panel for being here. Jon Schnepp, where can everyone find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram, just at Jon Schnepp. Check out my comic Slayer at every comic book store right now. The #1 came out last week. And definitely, like we said before, check out Collider Nightmares. You want to see that.
Jeremy.
Slayer! You can find me at Jeremy Johns on YouTube, Twitter, and the rest of the internet verse. You can also find my show, Verizon Go 90, Awesome-tacular, on the Verizon Go 90 network. This week, this Friday, new episode dropping. We have some craziness for you. It's like a lot of fun. We get a little nuts, and you're going to love it.
And Mark Ellis, who lied and actually supported me quite well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and I can back Jeremy up where
Minus
it did
Beauty
get
and the
a little
Beast.
nutty. Well, I think the Beautician and the Beast is going to make $200. You guys can find me on Twitter at Mark Ellis Live. Let's talk about all kinds of things. This weekend, I'm at the world-famous Comedy Store. Next weekend, the Ice House in Pasadena. And tonight on the Schmoes Know Live show, 7 p.m. PST. A lot of fun, a lot of special guests. Tune in.
And over at the other table, Ashley, where can everyone find you?
Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Ashley Mova. Happy Wednesday, guys.
Wendy.
on YouTube at the Movie Couple channel, and on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat at Wendy Lee Zaney.
And you guys can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at Perri Nemiroff. Collider Nightmares every Wednesday morning. Go watch it. And then our brand new show, Collider Behind the Scenes, that airs every Saturday. We got a new episode coming at you this weekend. It's a lot of fun. All the guys behind the scene, Dennis, Adam, Cody, Riley, thank you guys so much. Thank all of you for watching, and we will see you tomorrow morning.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.